What will happen to Trump's criminal cases? A Democrat civil war is brewing, and FEMA workers were told to avoid Florida homes with Trump signs, as if those were the scariest things you'd find in Florida. That and more on this week's America Uncovered headlines. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. President-elect Donald Trump is choosing some key players in his administration. He's assembling his team just like the Avengers, except the Avengers endorsed Kamala Harris. Maybe Trump's more into the Justice League. Trump named former ICE Director Thomas Homan as his border czar, former Texas Congressman John Ratcliffe as his director of the CIA, and South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem to lead Homeland Security. This pick is the GOAT. Killer. Trump also nominated Florida Senator Marco Rubio for Secretary of State. This is historic, as Rubio would be the first Latino Secretary of State. Should he be confirmed, I hope he and Trump make a toast with bottles of water they drink from in the weirdest possible way. Trump also named Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence, former Congressman Lee Zeldin to lead the EPA, and Stephen Miller as Deputy Chief of Policy. Ah man, he chose Stephen Miller? I had Steven Seagal in my fantasy White House league. He would have been a perfect choice since, like Trump, he has experience working under siege, and he's hard to kill. For Defense Secretary, Trump named Fox News host Pete Hegseth, which is ridiculous. I can't believe a powerful government position is going to a news host that isn't me. I officially nominate myself for Secretary of getting paid a ton of money without actually having to do anything. I'm pretty sure that's a real government position. Speaking of new positions, Trump also announced a new government advisory agency led by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. It aims to cut down on excess government spending, waste, and bureaucracy. It's called the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Yes, DOGE. Don't let your memes be dreams. Make them part of the regime, team. Trump also picked Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be his Department of Health and Human Services Secretary, his criminal defense attorney Todd Blanche for Deputy Attorney General, former Representative Doug Collins for Veterans Affairs Secretary, and North Dakota Governor Doug Bergman as Secretary of the Interior. Wow, that's quite a list. Trump's pumping out cabinet picks so fast, even the memes can't keep up. Let me just map that out there for a second. It's hard to keep track. But Trump didn't stop there. He announced two people he wouldn't be hiring. South Dakota Governor Nikki Haley, who spent the most time campaigning against him in the Republican primaries, and former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Now that's a special type of petty. He basically said, "You're fired," from being hired. But why stop there? Why not announce everyone he won't be hiring? Kamala Harris, you're out. Mitt Romney, he puts the no in rhino. Snuffleupagus, he's a puppet of the deep state. Now that Trump's been elected president, something on many people's minds is what will happen to his criminal convictions and legal cases. Well, Special Counsel Jack Smith, the prosecutor behind Trump's January 6 election interference and classified document cases, who also looks like me if I was haunted by a sleep demon, took the first steps to halt Trump's prosecution by requesting to delay a series of deadlines in his January 6 case. The judge overseeing this case granted Smith's request and will give him a month to decide how to move forward with his indictment. In a court filing, Smith writes, "The government respectfully requests that the court vacate the remaining deadlines in the pretrial schedule to afford the government time to assess this unprecedented circumstance and determine the appropriate course going forward consistent with Department of Justice policy." Of course, Department of Justice policy on prosecuting sitting presidents is, probably. Smith also might not stick around for long, as NBC sources say Smith plans on stepping down before Trump takes office. But what about Trump's criminal so-called hush money case, where he was already convicted? What's going to happen there? Well, no one really knows right now. The judge in that case, Juan M. Merchan, was set to make a decision this past Tuesday over whether or not to throw out the case due to Trump's lawyers arguing he had presidential immunity, thanks to a Supreme Court ruling made over the summer. The Merchan has now delayed his ruling at least until November 19th to give prosecutors a chance to make a case for how to move forward given this unprecedented circumstance. This is all so unprecedented. They should change the expression from justice is blind to justice is really, really confused, man. As for Trump's Georgia election interference case, that will likely be delayed until after he leaves office. But it was already looking to be delayed for over a year at least due to Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis potentially being disqualified from the case over a potential conflict of interest due to her relationship with the lead prosecutor. A judge ruled she'd be allowed to remain on the case, but that decision is being appealed. So to summarize this long, complicated, convoluted maze of Donald Trump and his journey through the American criminal justice system, scratched nonstick pans could potentially be toxic. And no, this isn't a transition to a different story. I'm telling you about this because in Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s quest to make America healthy again, he should study what Donald Trump is made out of, because Teflon Don frying pans might be a much better alternative since no matter how many people try, no one is ever able to make anything stick to him. And after the break, a Democrat civil war is brewing. Welcome back. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders has put out a scathing open letter accusing Democrats of turning their backs on working-class voters. In it, he says it should come as no great surprise that a Democratic Party which has abandoned working-class people would find that the working class has abandoned them. Dang, call him an arsonist because Sanders is ready to burn it down. By the way, if he doesn't sell this shirt as merch, I don't know what he's doing. In response to this, Democrats took a long, hard look at themselves, realized where they faltered, and vowed to do better in the future. I'm just kidding. DNC Chairman Jamie Harrison called Sanders' letter straight up BS. BS? Duh, those are Bernie Sanders' initials. Thanks, Captain Obvious. And White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre also denied the Democrats abandoned the working class. Yeah, they didn't abandon them. It was more like they accidentally left them behind, like in Home Alone. The working class should have voted for the Democrats because it's not like they'd accidentally leave them behind again. Whoever heard of a Home Alone 2? That sounds like something Trump would be involved in. Nancy Pelosi also criticized Sanders' comments.
But I don't respect him saying that the Democratic Party has abandoned the working class families.
Yeah, Pelosi absolutely cares for the working class. Specifically the ones working to keep her multi-million-dollar homes clean that she and her husband bought with totally lucky guesses on the stock market. Sanders pushed back on Pelosi's pushback.
Bottom line, if you're an average working person out there, do you really think that the Democratic Party is going to the mats, taking on powerful special interests and fighting for you? I think the overwhelming answer is no, and that is what has got to change.
Sanders thinks Democrats won't throw down for the working class? They'll definitely go down by taking a knee and posing for a picture performatively. In sincere solidarity. Pelosi wasn't just upset with Sanders, though. She also expressed frustration with Joe Biden. She says the election could have gone differently had Biden stepped aside sooner and Democrats had a primary to determine a candidate. Yeah, why didn't Biden step aside sooner? I mean, it was obvious his mental acuity wasn't what it once was. It's not like Democrats were defending him up until they had literally no other choice. Just kidding, that's exactly what happened. Democrats kept saying Biden was as sharp as ever, and as recently as June, Pelosi herself called a Wall Street Journal article questioning Biden's mental faculties a hit piece. So Bernie Sanders is blaming the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party is blaming everyone but themselves. Everyone was afraid this election would cause a civil war to break out, but we all assumed it'd be between Democrats and Republicans. Turns out it's a Democrat civil war. And the participants look old enough to be veterans of the last American Civil War. At least this means there'll probably be less violence, since it's hard to get violent when you need to take a nap. The FBI is investigating racist text messages, some including references to slave catchers and picking cotton. They were sent to black people in over 20 states the day after the election. While alarming, a DC misinformation expert warns anyone who received one of these texts to not engage with it, as it could lead to their information being hacked. They also suspect this could be the work of a Russian troll farm. And you know what especially sucks about this? They sent these messages after the election. Just when everyone was sure the mass spam texts would end, they get another wave of them invading their privacy. If this is Russia, it's the worst invasion they've launched this decade. Okay, maybe second worst. Speaking of Russia and Ukraine, Biden met with Trump in the Oval Office and reportedly urged him not to abandon Ukraine. The Washington Post reported that before this meeting took place, Trump spoke to Russian President Vladimir Putin and told him not to escalate the war in Ukraine. However, the Kremlin says this call is pure fiction. However, this is coming from Vladimir, I swear I'm totally not going to invade Ukraine, Putin. So I wouldn't trust him for a cotton-picking minute. Also, The Onion bought Alex Jones' InfoWars at an auction. So saying something is pure fiction makes it sound believable since reality feels stranger than fiction these days. Though a judge did block that purchase for now. But I hope it goes through. The Onion and Alex Jones have a lot in common. Most of it is fake news, but sometimes they're both spot on. The Daily Wire obtained internal messages that showed a FEMA official ordered relief workers assisting in Florida after Hurricane Milton not to help any houses displaying a Trump sign. Now, the Daily Wire is obviously a biased, right-leaning source, so I'm not sure how reliable it is. Oh, it's 100% true. FEMA has fired Marnie Washington, who told workers in a group chat to, quote, avoid homes advertising Trump. This led to at least 20 homes not receiving federal aid. FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell writes, I want to be clear to all of my employees and the American people. This type of behavior and action will not be tolerated at FEMA, and we will hold people accountable if they violate these standards of conduct. Washington created such a PR disaster for FEMA, it makes me wonder if there's a FEMA for FEMA. But that's not all.
In response, the fired FEMA manager told Primetime that this wasn't an isolated incident, and, quote, FEMA has made me a patsy.
Is she insinuating that she was following directives from higher up the chain? Oh, well, in that case, this is totally fine. Because as you World War II buffs surely know, when someone says they were just following orders, that's a perfectly valid excuse no one can ever question. Republicans are calling for a full-scale investigation into this incident. But more importantly, they should also be calling for Trump to add Washington to the list of people he won't be hiring. And before YouTube kicks you to a random video, check out the latest episode of my show Deep Thoughts While Gaming, about why being a Sigma male is actually pretty lonely, according to the new Mario and Luigi brothership. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.